Hi, everyone. Okay, please let me know if you can hear. There's a chat button right down below the video. And just let me know in there if you can see me and hear me. Hey, Krista says you can hear me and see me. Awesome. Thank you, Krista. I'll just wait for one more confirmation just to make sure that everyone's able to. Please let me know in the chat if you can see me and hear me. We're going to get started right around 6 because I'm sure you guys will have lots of questions for me. And so yeah, if you guys have any questions at all, you can put them in the Q&A section. Right down below the video, there's a Q&A button, and that's where I'm going to be taking all the questions from that you guys have today. So start putting them in now. I'll just do one after another. So the first one in there will be the first one to answer. So right down below the video, there's a Q&A button, and that's where you can ask your questions. So today we're talking about anything related to the actuarial career. So if you have questions about your studying right now, if you're having problems, anything related to that, you can certainly ask. If you want to start looking for a job and you're not sure what to do, internships too, you can ask about that. Anything on your next steps, any questions relating to that, feel free to ask. I'm here to help you guys today and answer all your questions. Still waiting for one more person to please let me know in the chat if you can see me and hear me. So right down below the video, there's a button you can click. It says chat, and that's where you can put or just let me know that you can hear me and see me. And then there's also the Q&A button that you can use to ask any questions you have today. I see people are still joining. So just for anyone that's just recently joined us, right down below, there is a button right down below the video. There's a button that says Q&A. That's where you can go to ask any questions you have today. So we're going to be talking about anything actuarial related. It could be studying for your exam or anything you're doing right now in terms of your studying. It can be related to finding a job or an internship, about VEE credits, anything you want to know, just let me know. And put your questions in the Q&A section. Okay. So I do have a few questions that people submitted beforehand because they weren't able to make it. So I will start with those ones really quickly, but then I'll get right into your questions. Okay, so for those of you just joining us, right down below the video, there's a Q&A button, and that's where you can put any of your questions you have today relating to the actuarial career, studying for your exams, getting a job, anything like that. So right down below, there's a Q&A button for your questions. So I'm going to start with a question that was submitted earlier today by Kylie. And she says, when should I apply for VEE credits? I'm graduating school in May, and I've passed 2 exams, so technically I can apply for my VEE credits, but it's $75 each. So just so you know, VEE credits are a requirement that you have to meet eventually in order to get your ASA or a CAS designation. So you will have to get these VEE credits eventually. You can take courses in school that will help you, that will actually qualify you to get those VEE credits, but you have to obtain a certain grade in those courses. Or there's also the option to take online courses like through the Infinite Actuary. I believe they offer VEE credit courses. There are 3 VEE credits that you need to get. So each of them is worth $75. You have to pay just to apply and get that credit. So Kylie is wondering if it's more beneficial to have those credits when she's applying to jobs. So should she pay for them now, or should she wait till she gets employed and then an employer will pay for them? So in this situation, really, I recommend you just wait and get an employer to pay those for those credits once you get employed, because most employers aren't really going to care whether you have those VEE credits already or not. What you could do is just state on your resume that you have met all the requirements for the VEE credits, and that will tell them that you can go ahead and get them. It's just that you haven't actually gone and applied for the credits yet, but you have everything you need in order to do that. So I wouldn't recommend paying for those yourself, because it's not going to help you get a job. And just wait for an employer to pay for those later once you start your first job. Okay, now we're getting lots of questions in here. For those of you that just joined us, we're going to be talking about any questions related to the actuarial career today. It could be related to your studying, it could be related to internships, next steps, anything like that. We will talk about it today. All you have to do is put your questions in the Q&A section down below. There's a button right down below the video that says Q&A, and that's where you can put your questions for me to answer. So there's already lots coming in. I'm just going to kind of go through the questions as they come in. So make sure to get yours in there. We're only going to be doing this call for about an hour, so I want to get to as many questions as I can. Okay, so Emily asks, do you have any tips for what to do in college to prepare for an actuarial career? So obviously, Emily, you're taking an exam right now. You're in the study strategy program. So that's really one of the main things you need to be working on while you're in college, is passing your exams. Hopefully you will graduate with 2 exams passed, but if you only have 1, that's okay too. Even if you had 3, that would be amazing, but most people graduate with 1 or 2. If you have 2 exams passed by the time you graduate, you'd be in pretty good shape. So that's what I'd aim for, ideally. Other than that, it would also be good if you could improve your technical skills. So Excel is really important for the actuarial career. When I was working as an actuary, I used Excel almost every single day. So it's important to know how to use it effectively and know all the different things that you can do with Excel. And that will really make your job easier and make you more productive while you're working. So some colleges and universities might offer a course where you can actually go and learn Excel. But other than that, there's other ways you can learn it. You've probably seen me send out emails about my Excel training sessions. I'm planning to do another one of those next week for complete beginners. So if you've never opened Excel before, or you really don't know much about its functionalities or anything like that, then that will be a really good place for you to start. TIA, technical skills, like TIA, which is the Infinite Actuaries, has a technical skills course, and you can get that, and it will teach you a bunch of different programs: Excel, SAS, SQL. There's some other ones in there that it teaches you, and since you're a student, I believe there's a student discount that you could qualify for as well. Though the TIA course is kind of it just gives you the course and teaches you everything you need to know, or everything, like not everything about Excel. Obviously, it can't teach you all that because there's so much stuff Excel can do, but it will teach you a lot. Whereas my program, when I work with people on Excel, it's more interactive, so you follow along, and then if you're having trouble with anything or want further clarification on things, you can ask directly. Like it's sort of like this, where I'm able to take your questions and answer them on the spot. Whereas the TIA skills course, you can't really do that. They just give you the information and let you be. So those are the 2 main things I would concentrate on while you're in college. And I guess another thing would be also looking for internships. Try to get some related experience. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the actuarial field, but try to get related experience while you're still in school, and that will give you just more to talk about on your resume when you start applying to actuarial positions after school. Okay, next question. Krista asks, she's a career changer. For people who are starting out in the actuarial career in their 30s, what advice can you give to break through companies who might be weary of hiring someone older? Do you see ageism in the actuarial field? Okay, so I personally have never been involved with hiring people in an actuarial position, so I'm probably not the best person to ask about this, but your 30s isn't really that late. One of the big benefits of starting this career early is that you have already been able to gain some experience in probably a corporate environment. So a lot of the skills and everything that you've learned in your previous position can most likely be applied in an actuarial position. So maybe you already have experience in the workplace using Excel, and that alone can be really beneficial because employers want to know that the people that they're hiring know how to use Excel. It's so important and they use it every day. So if you already have that experience in the workplace, it's really going to help. And just so many other things that you already have experience with in the workplace gives you an advantage over people that are just starting out, just out of school and stuff. That's why in the previous question, I recommended trying to get those internships and that related experience even before you're out of school, because it's really going to be beneficial for you. A lot of people, they don't do that. They don't really have much experience coming out of their schooling. So it makes it very difficult for them to just jump into an actuarial position. But Krista, for you, you've already been working in an environment where you've learned, you've had skills, you've developed soft skills, and probably even some very technical skills that you can use in an actuarial position. So I don't think that that's really going to be an issue for you. As long as you are really committed to making this work and you'll do whatever it takes, then I really think that anyone can become an actuary if they're willing to put in the time and the work and the effort that they need to. And also just proving that you can pass your exams is really going to help as well. Okay, next one here. Can you talk about what an actuary does on a regular basis? Okay, it's going to be really different depending on what kind of position you are in. So there are really two main positions I'd say that actuaries work in. One is pricing and the other one is reserving. So those are kind of the two biggest, I'd say, types of positions that an actuary works in. On the pricing side, you do a lot of analysis of data, finding different statistics and stuff like that, and figuring out how premiums need to be, like figuring out how to price different insurance products according to all the different like data that you have available to you. So in a pricing position, you're going to be using like more, I come from a life insurance background. So for me, we were using mortality tables, which tell you pretty much the probability of someone dying at each age. And it depends on how many, when they started or when they purchased their insurance policy and stuff. So we deal a lot with mortality tables, and just different things like that. We collect data from many different sources, use that to determine the likelihood that someone is going to die each year, and kind of discounting those probabilities back and associating a dollar amount with all of them. So that kind of work can be very technical. I often used a program called Axis, GGY Axis. Let me see if I can find it for you. So I'm not really sure what they have on their website, if maybe they show you how that program works or anything, but in the chat, I'll just put a link to GGY Axis and you can kind of get a sense of how that would work. So that's really a modeling software. So you can input a whole bunch of data into that and it will kind of do a whole bunch of calculations in the background, and tell you how much a certain premium, or how much premium should be charged in different scenarios. So that was really interesting. I didn't spend a lot of time in pricing. I'm much more familiar with the other type of position, valuation. In a valuation position, what you're doing is kind of figuring out how much money the insurance company needs to save in order to prepare to pay all the future obligations that it's going to have. So let's say for every 100 people that purchase a policy from an insurance policy from a company, they know, the insurance company knows that they're going to have to pay a certain amount in the future. And since there's so many people, they had like thousands of people, they can fairly accurately estimate how much they're going to have to pay out in claims next year and the year after and the year following that and so on. So just the sheer volume of people that they have purchasing policies allows them to just fairly accurately calculate how much they're going to need to pay in each year into the future. So in a valuation position, our job is to actually figure out those numbers, figure out how much the insurance company is probably going to have to pay next year and the year after and the year after. But then we also need to work with the investments department of the insurance company, and they're responsible for purchasing things like bonds and stocks and mortgages and stuff like that, that pay the insurance company in terms of dividends and coupons and stuff. So for example, if let's say we have an insurance policy right now and the valuation department has determined that we're going to have to pay $1,000 5 years from now, for example. It's a very simplified case, but if we think we're going to have to pay $5,000 in 5 years, then the valuation department would work with the investments department, and the investments department would kind of purchase a bond, maybe, a bond, and that bond would pay coupons, so the insurance company would purchase a bond, let's say for, I don't know, $4,000 right now, and that bond will give us back $5,000 in 5 years. So if we purchase that $4,000 bond right now, we know that in 5 years we're going to get $5,000, which will be used to pay off the claim that we know we're going to have to pay in 5 years. But the other benefit is that throughout those 5 years, a bond also pays coupons. So it's kind of like an interest payment. It means that the company that put that bond out for sale, we gave them $4,000 to borrow. They're going to pay us interest every year. So maybe they'll pay us $500 every single year just to borrow that $400 that we gave them. And then, so the insurance company is making $5,000 or $500 every year, but then they also get that big lump sum back, that $5,000 at the 5-year mark, which can pay off their claim. So they got some interest, those $500 payments every year, and then they also get that $5,000 to pay off the claim in 5 years. So hopefully that wasn't too confusing and you kind of followed, but those are the two types of main positions, pricing, valuation, and what you do in each of them is quite different, but the concepts and everything that you use in both sides are very similar, and it's exactly the kind of stuff that you are learning right now when you're taking exam P and FM. Okay, next question is, can you compare what different types of actuaries do? Specifically ERM if possible. So I already talked a bit about what a valuation and a pricing actuary would do. An ERM actuary is an enterprise risk management actuary, and they'd be responsible really for looking at different types of risk that the insurance company is exposed to. So for example, there are lots of risks that insurance companies are exposed to. So in the previous example, we were talking about the company purchasing a bond and getting those $500 payments every single year. But for example, there's a possibility that the bond might default, which means that maybe that company goes out of business and they can no longer pay those $500 payments. So since the insurance company was counting on those payments for, like, they needed those payments to pay their claims in the future, then there's some risk there, because there's not always a 100% guarantee that the insurance company is going to get that money that they were expecting. So there's risks like that. There's also risk like reputation risk. For example, if maybe something really bad happens and then there's this huge public awareness and story about how this certain insurance company poorly handled a claim or something like that, and that in turn makes buyers and people looking for insurance policies hesitant to purchase from that insurance company. So that reputation risk is a concern for insurance companies, because if they are planning on making $5 million in sales over the next year, for example, and then this story comes out and people kind of shy away from purchasing from that company, maybe they'll only make $3,000 or $3 million in sales instead, and that can really impact all the plans that the insurance company has in terms of claims and stuff like that, because they are relying on a certain number of sales in order to meet different other requirements that they have. So an ERM actuary works a lot with those different types of risks that you might not think are as obvious, and trying to quantify them and mitigate them to reduce the impact that they would have. Okay. Next question is from Kayan. Do you know where in Alberta I would be able to sit my exam? I'm in Lethbridge, Alberta. Okay, so let me look this up quickly. So Prometric is the website where you go to register for your exam. So first you register through the SOA, the Society of Actuaries, but then they send you to the Prometric website. Prometric is the company that kind of administers all the actuarial exams for exam P and FM. So they're the ones that supply the testing centers and all the computers and everything that you actually do your test. So if you go to the Prometric website, which I will put a link right now into the chat, Prometric. So there's a section at the top that says test takers. They've changed this website in just a second. Oh yeah, okay, this will be a better one for you to go to. So prometric.com/SOA, and then at the left-hand side, there's a button that says locate, and you can go there to figure out where the closest testing center to you would be. So there's testing centers all over the place, all over the world. So there'll definitely be one pretty close to you in Alberta. Okay, next is Emily's question. Is it valuable to learn VBA? Definitely, it's very valuable. So like I said, I used Excel all the time on the job, but a lot of the time VBA was used in the background of Excel. So for those of you that don't already know what VBA is, really it's just a program, like coding or programming that you can do to Excel in order to automate different actions in Excel. So for example, if you had to do the exact same thing like 1,000 times in Excel, your hand would get pretty tired. You get bored of doing that. You'd be subject to making mistakes and stuff like that, and it would take quite a while. But you can use VBA to automate that task. It goes really fast. So something that might take you 2 or 3 hours would take VBA maybe 10 seconds. So you can go much faster when you know how to use VBA. It saves some mistakes, like prevents mistakes. So I used VBA all the time in my position, and I'd highly recommend you learn how to use it too, because it will definitely be useful in an actuarial position. Also, if you know how to use VBA, it makes it much easier to learn other different programming languages that maybe the company that you get hired into in the future might use. So I'm sure you'll probably use VBA, but they might also use other programming languages. And just knowing how to use VBA will allow you to quickly learn other programming languages, because you have the knowledge of how it kind of works in the background of your head, how programming works, and that makes it really easy to learn other languages as well. So definitely make some time to learn how to use Excel and VBA. Next is another question from Emily. What is the best way to find an internship? So, best way to find an internship. I would say you have to start looking. So internships are usually only offered to people that are still in school. So if you see an internship posting, it's probably because they want someone that is still in school and plans to return to school after the internship. Best way to find one is really do some networking, see if there are any people in your network that actually work in an insurance company already. I'm sure many of you actually already know other people working in insurance companies. So just having that kind of connection can really help. They might be able to get you in the door for an internship position that's available in the insurance company. Also look online. There are quite a few postings for internships all the time. I actually have the job search program that any of you can continue in after you're done in the study strategy program, where I help people find an internship and a job and fix up their resume. What's really important is that you have a good resume and show how your past experience is related to what they'd be looking for in an actuarial position. So number one thing you have to do is get your resume fixed up and make sure it's properly displaying how your skills are relevant to an actuarial position. But other than that, I'm not really sure the best way to find an internship. There's so many different things that you can do. There's, like, in your own network, you can just try to find connections to people that are working in an insurance company, applying to positions online. If you're still in school, or even sometimes graduates have access to job postings that are just available to only people at the school that you went to. Also, LinkedIn has quite a few connections. Maybe you can try connecting to someone on there that works in an insurance company that you're interested in applying to or having an internship. And maybe you can somehow make a connection that way and allow people to get to know you better. And that might open up some doors too. So there's not really one best way to find an internship. It really takes trying to doing a lot of different things to give yourself the best chance of getting one. So hopefully that helps. Oh, you can see my cat in the background sitting on the couch now. Okay. Next is Summer's question. I am in my last year at school. Will be graduating after fall 2020. So that's about 9 or so months away. Currently past P. Do you recommend just focusing on passing FM and IFM before graduating, or looking for an internship this summer? So I would definitely recommend you try to get that internship for the summer. I certainly think it's still important for you to pass exam FM at least. IFM, not as important, but FM, I definitely try to get that in before you graduate if you can. But also just getting that internship is really going to help give you more experience to add to your resume. If you are lucky enough to get an internship in an insurance company, it might open doors for an actuarial position full-time after you graduate. So I definitely recommend starting to look for an actuarial internship. A lot of companies have probably already hired for their summer internships for 2020, unfortunately, but that doesn't mean you won't be able to find one. Still look for them, still apply to them, and just see what you can get. Any related experience is better than nothing. So I'd focus some of your time on that, but not all of your time needs to go to looking for your internship, because both passing exam P and finding an internship are important for you right now. Okay, next question here is, I just graduated in January. Do you think I will be able to get an internship since they're all looking for juniors or seniors? Yeah, like I said, a lot of internships are only available to people that are planning to go back to school. So it might be difficult for you to find an internship after you've already graduated. However, if you find internships available online, I would definitely apply to them anyway, because there's no harm in trying, and just applying. There's no harm in applying, you might get it. So certainly still apply to internships, but also be open to full-time jobs. So start applying to any entry-level actuarial positions you could find. And also be open to related positions like underwriting, data analysis, risk analysis. Anything like that will really help you get some relevant experience for an actuarial position. So maybe if you get a year or so, 6 months to a year of experience in a related position, you'll be much more employable in an actuarial position in about 6 months to a year. So still apply to the internships, but probably don't make that your main focus. I would focus on related full-time positions and full-time actuarial positions right now. Okay, next is from Sana. Okay, another career changer here. So would experience working in an admin side of life and health insurance help get an actuarial position within a company? So working on the administration side of a life and health insurance company is what she's asking about. So any position in an insurance company can be beneficial because, first of all, you're learning a lot about how insurance works. You're learning the specific products that are actually available in an insurance world and what they are. And also, it's really good just to get your foot in the door. So I certainly think that would be a great position to apply to and work in. While you're in that position, make sure you're also working on passing your more exams, and continue to look for actuarial positions. So even just 6 months of experience in a related position can really provide you with valuable experience for an actuarial position, and can really increase your chances of getting one. It will make you a much better candidate for actuarial positions if you do have some really closely related experience. So experience in an insurance company, I would say, is fairly related to actuarial experience, and it will be very beneficial. So even just 6 months in a related position can really improve your resume and make you a better candidate, because a lot of people, they don't have any related experience, and if they do, they're not properly showing how that experience is related to the actuarial career on their resume. In the job search program, I've been working with a lot of people lately, and all the time I just see how it's really difficult to do this from your point of view when you're not as sure about what an actuarial position requires. But I can more easily see what skills people have and what someone would need in an actuarial position, and arrange their resume in a way that shows how their past experience is more related to an actuarial position. So when you start applying to actuarial positions, just make sure that you're really showing how your admin work that you did in the insurance company is related to an actuarial position. Okay, next one here. For any of you that are recently joining us, there's a Q&A button right down below the video where you can ask any questions you have. That's where I'm getting all these questions from. So if you have any questions, just ask them with the Q&A button down below. I'm going to be going for another half an hour, and I'll just take in as many questions as I can. There's still 10 questions here to be answered, but probably a few more will come in as we go. So I'll just keep going here. So Ricky asks, for those who work and go to school, what would you advise when there are topics that take longer to understand? Okay, so Ricky, I'm not 100% sure where you are in your studying right now, but there may be room for us to add in an extra review day or something like that for you. So you can just email me and my team will see if there's any room to add in some time for that. And also I recently did training. It wasn't just for study strategy program members, it was just for anyone who was interested, a training about time management. I will put a link to the replay for that in the chat. Okay, so right now I'm putting a link to the replay of the time management training that I recently did. It's etched.actuarial.com/time_replay. So in there, I talk about just how to manage your time while you've got lots of other things going on. So if you are one of those people that has tons of things going on like I did when I first started studying for my exams, I was trying to work and I was trying to take courses in school. I was working like full-time, taking courses in school. I played soccer all the time, which I talk about in that training, but there's just so many things I had going on. So you really have to prioritize your time, figure out exactly when you're going to fit in your study time, and kind of make that an appointment for yourself, like that study time that you set for yourself, because it's so important to stay consistent and stay on top of your studying when you are planning to take an actuarial exam. And another thing you can do is if there are topics that take longer to understand, maybe on the weekends or something, there's a little extra time you have that you can use to kind of catch up on things that you need to get done with your studying. Like I know there are some topics that are just more difficult to understand, so maybe you have to spend some more time on those during your actual study day, but then on the weekend, maybe when you don't have work in school, you can spend an extra hour or two just catching up or reviewing those specific topics. Okay, next question is from Krista. Any test-taking tips you can share to not get so stressed with the time limit on exams? I know it's recommended to skim through all the questions and answer the ones that you can easily answer, but any other tips? What's the average time per question you should aim for in a practice exams leading up to the actual exam? Okay, so Krista is just asking here for tips on time management throughout your exam. So, and she's feeling stressed with the time limits when taking an exam. So one of the best ways to get over this kind of stress is taking lots of practice exams in exam conditions. And what a lot of people don't do, but I haven't also really done a good job of telling people to do this, but when you're taking your exams, try to do them in different settings. So maybe one day you could go to the library, maybe one day you could do an exam at your house, maybe the next day your exam is in a meeting room at work or a meeting room at school or something. So you're always switching up the location of your exam. And get down, Shadow. Sorry, cat. Always switching up the location of your exam. can help relieve the stress of being in a different environment all the time. So then when you actually go to take your real exam, you're kind of used to taking exams in all different types of places. So that will help with the stress. And just doing tons of practice exams really helps you get accustomed to working under that time limit. And the more you can do, the less stress you'll kind of experience with that time limit. Another place that you can go, and I'm not sure if you've already checked it out, is in the study strategy program members area. There's a place with lots of advice and helpful tips that you can use. I'm pretty sure I talk about this in there, just dealing with the time limit. And I just put a link to in the chat, actuarial.com/advice. That's only for members of the study strategy program. So there's lots of advice on there on how to just speed up a bit if you need to, if maybe answering questions is taking a bit too long and that causes you to stress out. There's some advice in there that can help with that. And I'm pretty sure I talked about the time limits and stuff too. And you also asked, what's the average time per question you should aim for in practice exams leading up to the actual exam? So for exam P, you have about 6 minutes per question. For exam FM, you have a bit over 5.5 minutes per question. So you're really going to want to try to stick to those time limits when you're doing your practice exams, just like you would in the actual exam. One thing I found really helpful to do was to actually write down the time that I started the question at the very top of the page, so that I didn't write down when I started. I wrote down when I needed to stop working on the question. So if I was starting at 6:30, for example, I'd write 6:36 at the top of my page so that I knew that I had to stop doing this question at 6:36, so that 6-minute time frame. And that just helped me personally, because I'm someone that likes to keep going, and when I think I'm really close, I want to keep on trying and stuff. But I know if I put that time limit down at the top of my page and I force myself to stop at that time, then it works a lot better for me. So that might be something that also helped you, Krista. Okay, next question is from Summer. I am in my last year at school. Will be graduating after fall 2020. I think I already answered that one. Next question is from HP. What are your thoughts on actuarial science and data science? To what extent do we have to know programming? So I can't speak too much to what you need to do in terms of data science and stuff like that, but for actuarial careers, programming is really important. We talked a bit earlier about VBA, which is a programming language for Excel, and I use VBA all the time. I also used programming in GUI Axis, which I talked a bit about at the beginning of this call. So GUI Axis is a modeling software, and you had the ability to do some coding in there as well. And the really good thing was that once I knew how to use VBA, I could fairly easily learn how to program in Axis, in GUI Axis. So once you know one language, it's fairly easy to use those same skills and knowledge to apply it to other languages. So just knowing one is really important. And I'd start with VBA for sure. Okay, next question. Yes, Lydia asks, I'm in class right now. Could you please send this webinar to us later? The answer is that yes, I probably won't send it out in an email, but I will put it in the members area so that you guys can refer back to it whenever you want to. Okay, next question is from Cynthia. What is the difference between actuarial consulting versus insurance? Also, do you know anything about actuarial work within a brokerage firm? Okay, so actuarial consulting and insurance and actuarial insurance, it's very similar. So as an actuarial consultant, they work with, I guess it's difficult to explain. So an insurance company, basically, they hire actuaries and they have all their actuarial staff like on hand all the time. So whenever they have projects and tasks that need to be done, they have the actuaries on their staff. They have them right there in the building to do the work that they need. So that's what a typical actuary would be doing. But a lot of actuary, especially at the beginning, a lot of entry-level actuaries work in consulting. So an actuarial consulting company, what they do is they work for other insurance companies. So if one insurance company had a big project that they needed help on from actuarial help on, they needed actuarial expertise and stuff, maybe they don't have enough actuaries available to work on that project. So what they would do is potentially, rather than hiring a whole bunch of actuaries temporarily, instead they'd hire an actuarial consulting firm, and that consulting firm would, some of the actuaries from that consulting firm would work with the insurance company, so that now they have a big group of actuarial people all working on one project. So in an actuarial consulting position, you'll actually get exposure to a lot of different types of projects, because you're always working with different insurance companies and working on different type like insurance projects and stuff like that. So it can be really good for experience. One of the downsides of consulting is that the insurance companies that are hiring the consulting firms, they often want their work done as quickly as possible. So that means that the actuaries working at the consulting firm have to work really long hours in order to get those projects done as quickly as possible. And you also asked about actuaries within a brokerage firm. This isn't 100%, I'm not 100% sure about this, but I don't really think many actuaries work in brokerage firms. Brokers really sell insurance. They work with insurance companies and they sell their insurance products, but actuaries aren't really involved with the selling of actuarial or insurance products. So I don't think there are many positions where an actuary would be working in a brokerage firm. Okay, next question is from Emily. What do you think about trying to get Microsoft Office certifications? It'd be really good in the sense that you'd know how to use Microsoft Office and particularly Excel very well, but I don't think it would help you a lot in getting a full-time job. What I think would help you better is to actually go find a job where you need to use Excel a lot, and then just gaining that on-the-job experience would probably be much more beneficial in terms of getting a job than spending your time on getting a certification. Okay, okay, 7 more questions left here. We have about 15 minutes. I don't think I'll get to too many more. So for right now, don't ask any more questions. If you have a question right now, ask it, but after that, no more, because I don't think we'll get to many more, and I don't want you guys to spend your time asking questions when I don't think we'll get to them. Okay, so Krista asks, is it worth being open to moving to a different state or country for an entry-level position? Do insurance and finance companies pay for relocation? So I am yes, definitely. If there are positions that you can take that are in different states and different countries and stuff, I really think that you should take them, even if it's just temporarily. Sometimes it can be really difficult to get a job that's exactly within the geographical area that you want to be in. But if you're able to expand your geographical area where you're willing to take jobs, then it's going to really help you, because first of all, there'll be so many jobs, more jobs available to you. But even if you can just get that 6 months to 1 year of experience in an actuarial position, that's really, really going to make you just a much better candidate for other actuarial positions that are closer to where you actually want to live long term. So if you can go to a different state for 6 months to a year, get some really good actuarial experience, and then start applying to positions back home where you actually want to live or wherever you want to live, it should be much easier for you to get those jobs nearby once you have some experience in an actuarial position. Getting that first bit of actuarial experience it really makes a huge difference in whether you get jobs and stuff. So there's a really big difference between someone that has no actuarial experience at all compared to someone that just has 6 months to a year of experience, and it will really open the doors for other actuarial positions for you. Okay, next question is from Cynthia. What is the difference? Oh, I already read that one. What's the difference between actuarial consulting and insurance? So we did that one already. Next question is from Galaxy S8. So this one's from a cell phone. I'm in my 3rd year of university. Do you think it would be worth postponing the graduation to increase the chance of getting a winter or summer 2021 internship and go back to school in the following school term? So it sounds like this person is asking whether it would be beneficial to postpone graduation in order to get or increase the chances of getting an internship. And you're increasing it by I'm not sure how much you'd be postponing your graduation, but it's really tough to say whether one is better than the other. It's kind of like there's both options. If you postpone your graduation, you are increasing your chances of getting an internship, but you're also increasing the amount of time you have to be in school and delaying when you can actually start working in a full-time position. On the other hand, if you graduate earlier, you're opening yourself up to more actuarial positions that are available right now. And yeah, so you could start working earlier. The internship experience will, if you can get an actuarial internship, it would definitely help, like really help in getting a full-time job later on. So I really don't think one is better than the other. I would just go with whatever your gut is telling you to do, because one isn't better than the other. Both have their pros and cons. So unfortunately, I can't really answer that for you. Okay. Next is from Sana. There's 4 more questions left here. We have about 10 minutes. So Sana says, do you see environmental, social, and governance factors, particularly climate risk, now a big consideration in actuarial work? Honestly, I don't follow a lot of what's going on in with climate change in terms of insurance and stuff like that. So I'm not 100% sure where this is going. I have heard climate change as being a factor that is talked about in insurance. There's actually a pretty cool website, and it's also a magazine called The Actuary. Let me see if I can find it for you. And they talk a lot about these kind of things. Yeah, so this website's pretty cool. So the actuarymagazine.org, I just put a link to that in the chat area. In there, they talk about all different kinds of things relating to the actuarial world. There's going to be a lot in there about climate change and the risks associated with that and how it would impact actuarial work. So I haven't really had personal time to go and check that out very much lately. I've been helping lots of members of the study strategy program and the job search program instead, but you could definitely look there to get more feedback on what that might look like in terms of an actuarial work. Okay. Next question is, my degree is in mathematics, actuarial science. However, I currently work as a general manager while I'm studying to take exam P. I never had the chance to work in an actuarial internship as I was forced to work full-time while going to school and playing a collegiate sport. Is it going to be more difficult for me to find a job after passing exam P? Um, so there are a lot of people that graduate without any actuarial internship experience or any related work even. So it is probably going to be a bit more difficult for you to find a job compared to if you had actuarial internship experience. But lots of people are graduating without any experience in like any actuarial experience at all, and a lot of them don't have any related experience either. So I wouldn't say that it's going to be way more difficult for you to find a job versus everyone else graduating from school. I actually think that people that have that actuarial internship are probably a bit like it's going to be a bit easier for them to find a job because they already have that experience, but a lot of people don't. So I don't think you're necessarily at a big disadvantage. You're just kind of level with typical graduates. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. I would just put all your effort into passing exam P. Hopefully after we can work together in the job search program to make sure that any of your current experience and any experience that you have now, we relate it as best as possible to an actuarial position. And then hopefully that will help you get a full-time actuarial position afterwards. Also, just passing one exam, it certainly is enough for many positions, but a lot of employers will be looking for candidates to have passed more than one exam. So you don't necessarily expect to pass one exam and then go find a job, because a lot of the time that doesn't happen. Once you pass 2 or 3, that's when you're really you're fairly competitive in terms of exams. So 2 or 3 exams, 3 ideally, but 2 should be good. Okay, second last question here. I know you answered my question, but I had a little difficulty on my end. I think I missed the answer to my question. Where in Alberta should I sit for my exam? Okay, Kayon. I did answer that question. Right now in the chat area, I'll put a link where you can go to visit the Prometric website. It's prometric.com/SOA. That's where you can go to just see where the testing centers are. Prometric is the company that administers all the exams for the SOA. So if you find a testing center there, what you can do to find a testing center is just go to the left-hand side. There's a button that says locate, and you can use that to find a testing center that is near you. And last question here. So this question is from Kelvin. Do you have a ranking of the types of programming languages that you need to know? I know for health actuaries, you need to know SAS mostly. Can you talk about how to price Medicaid, Medicare, and health insurance? What kind of factors do actuaries look at when you try to price health insurance? Okay, so programming languages for someone in health, like looking for health actuary positions. Honestly, I didn't work in health very much, so I'm not 100% sure. In my position, I did do a bit of reserving for health products that we had. I'm in Canada, so it might be a bit different for you. GGY Axis is modeling software that I used on the reserving side, but I believe that's only really popular in Canada. I may be wrong on that, but you can check out ggy.com. I put a link to that in the chat earlier. Other programming language that will be really good to know is VBA, because Excel, or actuaries use Excel all the time. So just having knowledge on how to automate tasks in Excel will be really beneficial. And really, I'd put VBA at the top of the list for every person that is interested in actuarial work, like in terms of the programming languages that you should know, I'd put VBA at the very top, because I really think that's the most widely used one, and it's almost like, I'm pretty sure you'll definitely have a use for VBA no matter what your position is. So once you learn VBA, a lot of the other languages are easier to learn after that. So if you do need to learn SAS or SQL or some other language, it probably won't be very hard to take what you've learned from VBA and apply it to those other languages. It's really hard to know. Different companies, they use different languages, so there's not really one specific language that that a health actuary might need to know. So that's why in general, I just say learn VBA, and then you can apply those same learnings to whatever language the company that you end up working for uses. And you'll probably use VBA as well anyway. So that, for my opinion, is learn VBA most and make that your highest priority. Can I talk about how Medicare is priced and stuff? Like I said, I'm in Canada, so we don't have Medicare particularly, but health, the kind of factors that would be taken into consideration for health insurance are prior health issues and things like that, your age, your job. Different jobs could be more detrimental to your health. For example, age would obviously have a factor. Gender would be a factor that you'd consider. For health insurance, what are some other things that you might consider? I don't know, extracurricular activities. If you're really into skydiving or something, that might play a factor. I don't know. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any other factors. But there's certainly lots of things that you'd consider if you're working in health insurance. So, okay, that is all of the questions today. 6:58, 2 minutes early, but that's okay. Thank you so much all for coming. I hope this was helpful for you. I'm planning to do more of these Q&A sessions in the future and hopefully make it a recurring thing that we have maybe once a month or something like that. So I hope it was helpful for you, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.